morning, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of Wealth Building Wednesday. We are excited every single Wednesday to bring you from 10 o'clock a.m. until 10:30 live on Facebook and YouTube, and then again at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on our media partner, WBFZ 105.3, an audio rebroadcasting of the great information that we bring to you again every single Wednesday. Wealth Building Wednesday is a project brought to you by TRHT Selma. TRHT stands for Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. And I know folks are like, well, what in the world does building wealth have to do with truth, racial healing, or transformation? Now, wealth, first of all, transforms a whole lot of things, right? But racial healing, because we know that in this country, we have a wealth gap, and we want to make sure that we are able to help folks close that wealth gap. And a part of the way and of the ways that we're doing that is to talk to every single Wednesday. We talk to an expert. Right now, we're in the midst of a series for entrepreneurs, folks who are considering opening their own small business, or small business owners who've been quite successful. But what we are talking about are aspects of small business ownership. And we are proud to welcome back Miss Sandy Hesley this morning. She is an expert credit counselor with Lifelines Counseling, which is not just credit counseling, but they provide a truly comprehensive service, y'all. Whether you walk in and you need to talk to someone because you're grieving, or if you want to walk in and you need to talk to someone because you want to make sure that your children's children are well prepared, right? And they know how to manage that thing called credit, then they can help you with that. And they service, right, Sandy? You all service all across the state of Alabama and even the Panhandle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So welcome back. How have you been in 2022?
Listen, thankful to be here, yes. COVID free.
Yes.
And just thanking God that I was able to walk into 2022 with, as the elders used to say, with a reasonable portion of health and strength.
Yeah.
And my right mind.
Amen. Amen to that. And we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Want to remind you that if you're watching us live, please feel free to tag and share this information. These videos are stored on the Facebook pages of the Selma Center for Nonviolence, as well as the Black Belt Community Foundation. So we want to help folks, right? So if we want to be seen as friendly, right? The friends help friends, right? They say your friends don't let friends drive drunk. Well, friends don't let friends have bad credit. Come on, friend. Look. Today we're going to be talking about from this small business perspective about credit. So wanted to ask you, that we've talked about the fact that we're in the midst of this series about entrepreneurship and small businesses. And does it actually matter? Does credit matter when it comes to starting a small business?
It does. It does. It matters a lot. Even on a personal side, and we're gonna, talking that, and if I kind of bounce around, forgive me. But just like with personal credit, you have to have credit to buy a house, to get into purchasing a home or whatever. So you have to establish your credit if you hadn't established it already. And it works the same way with business. You have to have credit in order to purchase inventory, things of that nature. So yes, you need credit because you're going to have to buy stuff, as we used to say, on time occasionally. So credit is just as important on the business side as it is on the personal side.
Awesome. So now that's important for us to know. So if you didn't know, now you know, okay? We want to make sure that our folks know and have access to improving our personal and building business credit. So now if I'm working on building my business credit, how can my personal credit be impacted?
The thing of it is that initially, your business and your personal are gonna link. They're gonna be linked initially. Okay. But people really have to realize is that there's a process and there are steps that you need to take. And the first important step is to establish a business structure, choose a business structure. Like if you choose to be a sole proprietorship, then you mainly are going to be operating more so from your personal credit side, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's because you've chosen to be, you've chosen that type of business structure. What you want to do is you want to get into choosing like, am I a corporation? Am I LLC? Things of that nature, because that is what's going to set you apart that's going to set your business apart from your personal side. So, like I said, it's a process. You need to choose the type of business structure. You need to get you a tax ID number. That's going to separate you as well, because and that's why I say a lot of the business mimics the personal, because just like you have your social security number, on the business side, you have an EIN number, tax ID number. So you need to get that. You need to get you a tax ID number, and you need to open a business account to separate your business from your personal. You shouldn't be commingling your business funds and running them through your personal checking account. So you need to establish a separate checking account. So, those are just kind of steps that you need to take. If I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, because see, those are the types of steps that folks need to be aware of. We've seen and heard about on the news, even PPP loans and folks applying for PPP.
Girl, that's a whole can of worms.
Ooh, yes.
Oh my word.
And for many reasons, right? But in order to qualify, there are folks who, did EINs at the last minute and things like that. And even though, like I've even heard people say, well, they've forgiven my loans. But please understand that the documents that you signed are granting the IRS the ability to perform audits. So if you said that you had a business worth $100,000 this year, and all of a sudden it disappears from any tax records for the next 10 years, that's going to trigger something, right, for the IRS.
And see, that's what we, especially in my banking world, and thank God I left banking right before all of that stuff came out, because that's a nightmare. Yeah. But what people have to realize is that even on the personal side, you always want to have an audit trail. That's what we call an audit trail. You want to be able to say where this money, I don't care if you're swiping your debit card 10 times a day. It's better to do that because you have an audit trail. I can physically show what I did with my money. And when you're dealing with a business, especially a small business, it is so important for you to be able to do that. And then you will really appreciate it when tax time. When tax time comes, and you'll be able to show documentation of what you did with your money. So that's why that's one of the important steps when establishing a small business. Separate your funds, open up you a business checking account so that you can properly document and you can show proof of what you did with your funds.
And now that is so important. I'm so glad that you, again, brought up those basic steps of getting your EIN, which is absolutely provided free of cost. That is a number, like you said, very much like your social security number, is like an ID number for your business. And it's free of cost, irs.gov, get your EIN for free. And then establishing that business checking account so that monies that flow into your life because of your business go through your business. And you can pay yourself, right?
That absolutely
can totally separate those funds that are coming in because of maybe you still have your 9-to-5. So your paycheck goes to your personal, and money that you earn as a result of your business goes into your business account.
Exactly.
So now, are business and personal credit at all alike? What's the difference between my personal credit and my business credit?
They really are a lot alike, and they should be treated, as such. Just like a personal credit, business credit determines whether your company can be trusted to pay back debt if you're extended debt. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And you you go through the 3 credit bureaus on the personal side. We know Equifax, TransUnion, and girl, I can't even think. It's 3 of them: Equifax, TransUnion, and I'll think of the other one in a minute. I'm having a moment. So you go through the 3 credit bureaus on the personal side. Then on the business side, you have something similar. And
Mhm.
believe it or not, Equifax has a small business side.
Okay.
So they monitor small business credit. And then you have this agency called Dun and Bradstreet.
Mhm.
So, that's how, they're similar. Both of them have their own entities that you go through as far as getting credit and stuff like that. The interesting thing that I found out, and I had to really go through the Experian, that's the other one. I knew it was going to come to me. Uh, that was going to bug me, is that with the 2 credit bureaus, personal and business. With
Mhm.
personal, we know the scores. Your scores can go from like 300 to 850. So, and we know the scores are like 670 on up are considered really good scores. But on business credit scores, they range from 0 to 100.
Okay.
And with lenders considering scores over 75 to be better and low risk. So, they both of them have a scoring system, but they're, slightly different. So, in addition to influence and approval or denial, the scores can determine repayment terms and interest rates, just like with personal side. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
when somebody is looking to extend credit to a small business, and with small business, let me fall back. When you're looking at extending credit, go to vendors to see if I want to establish a credit line with you.
Mhm.
You can go to a bank and apply for a small business credit card to, establish credit. You can go to a bank to apply for a small business credit line of credit to establish credit. You see what I'm saying? So those are different
Mhm.
ways that you can establish credit, but those entities are going to report to, Equifax Small Business, Dun and Bradstreet,
Mhm.
just like, creditors, credit card companies, mortgage companies, things of that nature report to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
So we have a question. This is great information. Y'all, again, want to remind you that you are tuned in live to Wealth Building Wednesday. We broadcast every single Wednesday, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, as well as at 1:30. We rebroadcast the audio on WBFZ 105.3. We have a question from the audience. She wants to know, if you are trying to get business credit, will they look at your personal credit as well? Is that something that we need to be concerned about when we're looking to establish business credit? Is the impact of our personal credit?
You should be concerned,
Okay.
because when you what you have to look at is when you are first starting out, and this is me flipping to my old banking side.
Yes.
When you're first starting out, your business has nothing to go on. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But the primary of that business, which is you. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So they're going to have to look at your personal credit, because, and that's why I said early on that in the beginning, they're linked. Personal and business are going to have to be linked, because you're just established, you're just establishing yourself. And so until you can, establish your business and get it built up, then a lender has no choice but to fall back on your credit. How did you handle your credit? And they will look at approving credit based on your personal credit. So you need to be concerned, yes, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to fall back on. That's all they have to go on. Is basically what I'm saying.
Okay, and so I know that's called like a personal guarantee, I think, when they ask you to.
You're guaranteeing that particular debt.
Okay.
So yes, you're getting, and you're you're doing two things. You're establishing your business. You're establishing credit for your business, and yes, you're the guarantor. You're
Okay.
guaranteeing that particular debt. And again, there is based on your personal credit.
Okay. So now we do have another question from the audience. We are super happy that folks are very engaged. Wanted to know, do you see a trend of small African American businesses not getting higher lines of credit through banks? This is an excellent, excellent, excellent observation. Do you see that in your work? Do you see that small businesses that are led by Black folks are not as easily credited with higher lines of credit?
You know, I hope I say this right, but I'm just gonna be just real with you, because before I came here, the location that I worked at in banking was predominantly Black.
Okay.
It was 90%.
Okay.
That was the clientele there, and we had a lot of declines. But let me say, it wasn't so much because they were Black. And I think I said this on one of our sessions before. We perish for lack of knowledge, because we are not that savvy about credit. You understand what I'm saying? Because we're not properly trained regarding credit, which this platform is absolutely phenomenal in trying to do that. And it's a blessing, and hats off to you, Lydia, and your group, because of what you're doing. You're doing a great work. Because they weren't educated properly, they didn't understand the importance of credit until they needed it right then. And that prevented them from being able to get approval because of credit issues. So what I did, I spent a lot of my time trying to educate them, trying to help them understand the importance of credit, the importance of paying debt on time, paying it as agreed, the importance of not overextending yourself, the importance of not maxing out credit cards when you get them, things of that nature. And so what we did was spend time educating you, getting things in order, then coming back and reapplying, and then getting that approval that you try to get 7 to 8 months prior. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I saw a lot of declines, but it wasn't so much as because of the color of their skin. It was because of their lack of knowledge and understanding of the importance of credit. But once they got that understanding, they were able to get what it was they had initially wanted, but it just took a little time. So does that answer your question?
I think that does address the question. I do also just want to quickly piggyback on what you're saying, in that it is not always what you just said about, it's not always the color of folks' skin. But now I will say that as someone who has experience working with larger banks as well as credit unions, that sometimes credit unions can be a safer place to learn, like to take those baby steps that you're describing in establishing
I
our
absolutely
business
agree.
and being able to answer those questions. Because larger banks, when you go in, they expect you to be prepared, right? So when they ask you, what your long-term goals, what's going to be the return on investment, when they say ROI and you don't know what that means, they're going to be like, hey, wait a minute, I don't know if we, like, you don't even know what simple, acronyms mean. So that's important for us to be placing ourselves in a position where we can win, and that we can win together. So maybe a larger bank isn't the first, even though it's a recognizable brand, but maybe consider a credit union to take the baby steps, and prepare yourself for the larger banks.
And I will interject this as well, Lydia.
Yeah.
What I found in my experience, and like I said, I was in banking for like 29 years. I'm not negating favoritism, nepotism,
Right.
not by no means, because I'm not, delusional. I know that can happen.
Right.
But I will say this. what has happened over the years. When I first started, you came in, you sat down with the bank officer, fill out your application, they went over everything with you, and they made a decision. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That opened the door for a lot of, favoritism,
Right.
that kind of stuff. But now we're on a scoring system.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know who we're seeing. You understand what I'm saying? Because
Okay.
when we go in and key in that application and key in the numbers that you put on it, it comes back because it pulls your credit, and based on the income you're reporting and the credit bureau that we pull from, that
Mm-hmm.
determines whether or not we're able to help you or we're able to not help you. So
Okay.
that took a lot of that prejudice, that favoritism, and all of that out. Not saying that that's completely gone away,
Right.
but it took a lot of that out. So you may stumble upon a loan officer that you go in to see that is not as helpful as you feel they should be. They're not
Mm-hmm.
going that extra mile to help you.
Right.
That's when it becomes an issue as well. And I would, recommend that you report it to, higher ups,
Absolutely.
because you can get that now. It's, sometimes they take a little extra step. They may be able to help get that approval for you and things of that nature. But for the most part, it's a number game. It's basically what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So now we did have another question from the audience asking about acquiring vehicles through your business. Um, is that a recommendation? Is that something that is that you think is a good thing? Like, or how would we go about acquiring vehicles in our business name, especially he said for newer businesses?
I mean, and depending on the type of business that you have, you may very well need a vehicle,
Okay.
and it goes back to the same thing with be it a business line of credit, business credit card. You would have to be the guarantor for that loan. You can still get it in, get it in the business name, but you would be guaranteeing that loan, and again it will fall back on the individual and your credit strength. How strong is your credit? So yeah, you can do it. It may be necessary again for the type of business that you have, but at the end of the day, it's going to fall back on that individual and how strong their credit is to be able to carry that debt.
Okay. So now wanted to ask about some good habits that we can have because you talked about earlier, Lord, that business credit and personal credit are actually very similar. So since they're similar, are there some things that we can encourage folks to do or habits that we can encourage people to have when it comes to keeping good credit scores, to building good credit scores and to keeping those good credit scores?
I mean, it's a matter. Both of them are pretty. In a situation like that, personal and business are going to work the same. It's a
Okay.
matter of you making sure that you pay your debts as agreed, as I mentioned earlier, paying them on time. With a business, making sure you have a good rapport with your vendors. When invoices are sent, make sure you pay them in a timely manner. And it's really that simple. It's not anything that you have to do, like a backflip and or anything like that. It's just a matter of making sure that you paying your debt on time, paying it as agreed, and not overextending yourself, not going out and getting too much credit. And then if you do have a line of credit, do everything you can to not max out. Use your credit wisely. Do I really need this particular purchase at this time? Or can I wait? You know what I'm saying? Things
Right.
of that nature. That is what you have to do.
On one of the previous episodes, you talked about if we wanted to, say, get a new car, to start putting those car notes in the bank, like start paying yourself in a separate account to set those things aside.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were saying about paying debts as agreed and making sure that we're paying our debts on time, I thought about that because even as a small business starting out, it may mean that in your business plan, right, when we're putting those things on paper, that the strategy we take doesn't necessarily depend on having everything all at once, but that we pace ourselves. And as a result of the earnings that we collect, from owning the small business, that we start setting those things aside. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, because you need to with anything, and that's just me. I when I got my car, the last car that I got, I called my insurance company to see how much my insurance would go up. I went online to see what the maintenance was like. When I need to get a new set of tires, what am I looking at? You know what I'm saying? You have to look at all of that. Look at the big picture. That's all I was saying. When you get ready to purchase something, is it something that I really need right now, or can I wait? And like you said, and like I said before, put your money in a separate savings account. Start paying that car note before you get that car, so that you can make sure that this is a debt that I can comfortably carry. And that is very important. But for me, it goes all back to planning. You don't plan to fail, but you'll fail if you don't plan. And so you need to plan. It all goes back to planning and being prepared. Even with a small business, establishing a business savings, having money tucked away for emergencies. That's the kind of stuff that you have to look at. So yeah, you're exactly right.
You know what? And even in saying that, just thinking about people, we have some phenomenal chefs in our community. I'm not going to call them cooks. We have some chefs in our community, honey, that, I mean, whether they're self-taught or professionally taught. And the considerations, right? Whether you want a brick and mortar or just starting off with a food truck.
Yeah.
Right, because a
Yeah.
food truck is actually a less expensive approach.
Yeah.
You still have to have licensing, but you don't have as high of an overhead, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's also, look, you can easily sell a food truck. Look,
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
if things don't go well, right, or you seek to transition, there are lots of options, right? But to rebrand a building, honey, imagine if Pizza Hut decided not to
Yeah.
sell anymore.
You're right.
And they became the Bagel Shack, right?
Yeah. You're
So
right.
now they've got to rebrand all of these buildings.
Mm-hmm.
But, pacing ourselves, there's nothing wrong with that. Lord knows, I think social media and so many other things, microwaves even, have caused us to be so, to gravitate towards the instant gratification.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, that
You're
saving,
exactly right.
listen,
And you have to realize that, especially with the small business,
yes,
it's not going to flip overnight.
right.
It takes time. So going to it with that mindset, because I know, like I said, in my banking world, we would tell people 2 to 3 years for you to really feel like you're established and you starting to see a turn. You understand what I'm saying? But don't, and it's something that you can't give up on. You're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna get discouraged, but you just got to keep plugging. But it's not something that takes place overnight and boom, I'm this huge business. It takes time. And you have to just, again, like you say, pace yourself. You have to be prepared, and you have to order your steps. You understand what I'm saying? Like you said, start out with a food truck. Eventually, I'll be able to get me a building. You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So now, last question. I know it's about time for us to wrap up, but if my business suffered some losses, and as a matter of fact, we actually had a comment related to this in the pandemic shakeup. If my business has suffered some losses over the past few months, right? And say, some bills, I got behind on some things. What steps do I need to take? Even considering the moment we're in with income tax refunds being issued, right? What steps should I take with moving forward? Can business credit be recovered?
Yeah, it can. I mean, it's just a matter of you making contact with that creditor. You know what I'm saying? And getting caught up, and making sure that you keep track of your credit report. Just like when you do your personal, keep track of it. See what's on there. If there's something that's not right, immediately contacting that bureau and saying, hey, we need to make an adjustment. I want to put a note on here. This is not correct. And like I said, just reestablishing yourself, getting a small business credit card or a line of credit, and use it, pay it down, and help start rebuilding. But and keeping your credit usage low, that will help start to rebuild. And really, the easiest way to rebuild, honestly, is if you have established credit, focusing on what you already have, getting that paid down, getting that caught up, and then over time, you'll see your credit score improving.
Well, I tell you what, you have truly offered us, as always, some great nuggets, some great information. We did have a question, and we're going to pick back up on this question from our audience in just a short when we come back with you. Miss Sandy Hesley, listen, is a credit expert. She is at Lifelines Counseling. I don't know why I keep want to call y'all, because you're comprehensive. You all have such a unique model when it comes to counseling I'm still so very impressed, and I look forward to us having being able to mimic what you all offer in the Dallas County and across the Black Belt, because you being able to respond to a family's needs and concerns, whether it again is something based in trauma or something based in financial health, right, or wellness, then you coming to one place, right, it's such a convenient thought, and it takes the jab out of this word called counseling. So you all have a wonderful model at Lifelines Counseling. They are located in Mobile, but Sandy Hesley is on board to help anybody in the state of Alabama and across the Florida panhandle. So if you have any questions, we'll definitely make sure to leave the information in the chat. How can people find you, Miss Hesley?
You can, and I should have typed it in, but you can email me, and that's really the easiest way. Hesley, SHESLEY at ccsmobile.org.
And so I'm leaving that in the chat so people can log on and see that information. Again, her name is Sandy Hesley. She is a certified credit counselor. She is at Lifelines Counseling. You can reach her via email at Hesley, that is SHESLEY at ccsmobile, MOBILE.org. Miss Hesley, it is always a pleasure to have you here, and we'll definitely have you back and start with that question about virtual offices. We have lots of questions about small business ownership and how to establish credit, so we're looking forward to having you back really soon. So for those of you all who have been tuned in, thank you so much. Please feel free to tag and share this information with your friends. Y'all, we broadcast Wealth Building Wednesday every single Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 10:30. If you are not able to tune in live, then you can always catch our audio rebroadcast on our media partner, WBFZ 105.3, or you can simply log into Facebook or watch us on YouTube anytime you want and share this information. Again, Ms. Hesley, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I always enjoy it.
Yes, and you always, honey, dropping those nuggets of knowledge. So we thank you, and we look forward to seeing you until next Wednesday. Y'all get out here. Let's build this wealth.